evening. Introducing Best Man, Mr. Dan Danis.
Thanks everyone for being here. I know these are crazy times, and it's nice that we can take one night away to focus on something really beautiful, the marriage between these two wonderful people. Just a word of advice, if you're ever in a wedding, make sure to pick up your suit early. You never know when a pandemic is going to roll in and Men's Warehouse is going to close their doors. So play it safe. Also, write your speech early because you never know when the groom is going to be living with you for the last week and a half. And I've had very little time to write, let alone rehearse this, so bear with me. Mike and I have been friends for a long time. We met years ago through our parents' Bible study. We had a mutual friend named Robert Ray, another kid of a family friend. One of my earliest memories with Mike was hanging out with him and Robert at the Ray's house. I believe the most common activity in those play dates was playing Pokemon Stadium minigames and, of course, physically kicking the crap out of each other. This one stood out. It was a long time ago, so I don't remember exactly how this came about. But I remember Robert insisting that Mike was a force to be reckoned with in wrestling. Robert was so confident that Mike could beat me in a physical altercation. So 10 or 11-year-old me that I was, with my years of experience playing little brother to much bigger adversaries at home, I looked at Mike and thought, no way. So I proceeded to provoke an altercation. Now, these wrestling matches would never get emotional. They never got particularly violent. We would simply chase each other, roll over couches, and ultimately pin one another to the ground. But it didn't stop there. There was no stall count. We would literally go until one of us quit. This was a brutal and exhausting game. Looking back, I think I would hang in pretty valiantly for a long time. But in all the times we wrestled, and yeah, we continued these bouts well out of adolescence, I never got Mike to tap out a single time. Usually he would win handily, but even the few times I got him pinned tight, he would struggle for 20 minutes if it meant breaking the hold and winning this fight. Sorry, I'm shaking. Mike is resilient. He knows what he thinks, he knows what he wants, and he does not break. And yes, that includes the times that Robert and I took him on 2-on-1. There was one time I got the better of Mike in a physical altercation. Now, to this day, we remember the events leading to this incident very differently. Mike told this story at my wedding, and he said something to the effect of, "It was a long time ago, who can say how it happened?" Well, I'm going to tell you exactly how it happened. My mother gave me a bookmark, but not just any bookmark. It was a gold bookmark. This was literally a bookmark plated in some number of carats of actual gold. I was in 7th grade. Mike was in 8th. I remember walking out to the playground after lunch at St. Luke's Catholic School. I jogged up to Mike, who was walking with a troop of 8th grade friends, and I said, "Hey, Mike, check out this bookmark. It's plated in actual gold." I handed it to him in an abundance of caution so as to not appear overly interested in anything so childish. Without making eye contact, or so much as a word, he bent my bookmark. Handed it back to me, not losing a stride. He denies it, but that's how I remember it. So I stopped, looked down in shock at my defiled treasure, and after a few moments, he had gotten a few paces ahead of me, and in a flash of white-hot rage, I ran up and pushed him in the back. He got up, pushed me back, and that was that. Back to recess. In the following days, he began complaining about his arm. We literally had a sleepover the next night, so there was no bad blood. But he had this lingering pain in his arm. So he goes to the doctor and finds out he has a broken arm. Then the school catches wind that this happened on school property during a school day, and they're probably thinking lawsuit. So the next day, they call us to the principal's office, Mrs. Vondrell, and she says, I just don't understand. You two are such good friends. Dan, what could possibly have compelled you to break Michael's arm? And so I straightened up in my seat, and I leaned forward and replied, well, look, he bent my bookmark. Seemed like reasonable retribution. But that incident in no way set our friendship back. Over the years, we've had disagreements on things, but we've never really had any bad blood. We've always known where the other stood and accepted each other as we are. Now, Mike has been my best friend for a long time, but young boys often don't commit to an official stance on who is my best friend. It's just not a priority. That changed one year in high school when we learned that Mike and his family would be moving to Virginia. I was suddenly struck with the realization that my best friend was leaving, and I was devastated. I remember sitting alone, contemplating his departure and what it meant for my day-to-day life. He was my sleepover buddy, my best friend. Every weekend, every Friday or Saturday night, we would try to find an excuse to hang out, and that was being taken away. I remember vividly thinking, I'm not just losing my best friend, I'm losing one of the best human beings I know. He was funny, intelligent, generous, loyal, and unflinching in his values, in his commitment to family, his commitment to friends, his commitment to God. Mike was everything I aspired to be. It hit me. He's a better man, and I wanted to be him. Fortunately, Mike showed his commitment and his priority to friends in his life by making Dayton his home away from home. I was ecstatic when I learned that he chose to come to the University of Dayton. In fact, he came up early to spend the summer with me, living at my parents' and working at a local organic farm, where we eventually worked together. Then I went to UD a year later, and we continued to grow, both as individuals and as friends. Our interests changed. We went from wrestling to drinking bourbon. We went from watching 24 to reading Brandon Sanderson, which I highly recommend. Check out the Stormlight archives. They're great. But we grew up. Mike entered the Air Force and serves our country to this day. I had a family, got a wife and 2 kids. But no matter what changes and no matter where he's stationed, our friendship has remained firm. As I said, Mike is intelligent. The progress he's made in the Air Force is a testament to that, and anyone in this room who has spoken to him for 30 seconds can attest. He's generous. One time, Mike bought me a $300 bottle of bourbon. The occasion, he knew I would appreciate it. He's loyal. If you need him, he will do anything for you, and he will make sure that you know you are a priority to him. Any of his friends could tell you he stands out in a group. He is an exceptional man. And the way he interacts with my children, my daughter, Nora, to whom he is an absolute hero, literally she likes him more than me, or my son Cohen, to whom he's godfather, God willing, he will be an exceptional father as well. Kara, godmother to my son Cohen, you are incredibly lucky to have Mike as a husband, now husband. And I know he is incredibly lucky to have you too. Mike and Kara have spent years as friends before getting into approaching romance. And at that point, they already knew what they were getting into. Kara was able to earn my nod of approval years before they were even dating. So that helped. They dated for a short time and then were immediately thrown into a long-distance relationship. They went through years of being several states away, but they both made sacrifices to make it work. To get through those years required a lot of generosity and a lot of loyalty from both of them. And they still made it to today. So I know together you're both in good hands. Other than that, best compliment that I can offer Kara is that she's very good at Egyptian rat screw, so long as sandwiches are involved. So I'd like to raise a toast to Mike and Kara that you both share in a lifetime of happiness through mutual generosity and loyalty. Here's.
Cheers. Let's give a big round of applause for best man, Mr. Dan Danis.